Have you ever felt a strange presence you can't explain? Have you noticed your pet staring into the darkness at something you can't see?
Welcome to Spirit Hounds, the podcast that combines our two passions, the paranormal and all things canine.
I'm Nicky Gardner, an author with a keen interest in the paranormal.
I'm Davina, a professional dog trainer and instructor.
And we are joined by our curious miniature dachshund, Rosie.
Join us as we explore the fascinating world of ghostly encounters, spooky legends from around the globe, as well as real-life dog training tips and techniques. Hello and welcome back to Spirit Hounds. Can you believe we're on our 8th episode already? It's crazy. It's been great fun so far, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been good.
Yeah. So today, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about a bit of a recap on a case that we discussed in the previous episode. We've got an update on Rosie's health. We'll kind of explain why it's been a while since we've done an episode. Nikki's going to be talking to us about
Christmas and winter ghosts.
Cool. In the dog training side of things, we've got a couple of little bits to cover. We've had a client question with regards to what's the best side to walk your dogs on. Nikki's going to give us a really helpful tip that he has on how to get your dog to take tablets nicely and calmly. And we're also going to be having a bit of a festive chat about what Christmas foods are safe for our pets at Christmas time.
Okay, so it's been a while since we've done a podcast, and the primary reason for that is that Rosie had another sort of case of IVDD, and this time it was much, much worse than the previous one.
Yeah, a few months ago, she had another flare-up, another disc exploded. She just woke up and couldn't walk. So we had an emergency trip to the vets, emergency re-referral back to the hospital in Cambridge, Dick White referrals, and surgery. So we've had that over the last few months. She came home on loads of drugs. She was on gabapentin, that was to manage the nerve pain. She had paracetamol for pain relief, diazepam, muscle relaxant, which manages muscle spasms, helps also with manual bladder expression, we'll explain why in a second, Sinulox, an antibiotic for after her surgery, and Metacam to help reduce pain and inflammation. She just couldn't walk at all. She had feeling, but she didn't have any use of her legs from her back down to her end, did she?
No, this is the thing. The first time we had it was really quite minor. All she was doing with the first time was scuffing one of her back feet as she walked. And they sort of done the MRI and went, yeah, there's an issue. And in the end, they operated. This time, it was stage 5, really, which is the highest stage. And she was completely paralysed from sort of the chest down. No use of her legs, couldn't wag a towel, couldn't go to the toilet, nothing. So it was a lot more worrying for us to deal with, and a lot more to deal with when we got her home as well.
Yeah, it was like having a newborn baby, wasn't it? She was incontinent. We had to learn how to manually express her bladder.
Oh, how difficult was that?
That was awful, really awful. You can't push too hard because you can cause internal problems, but you can't leave liquid in there because that can cause problems as well. So that was awful. She ended up with a few UTIs. She was on various courses of antibiotics. It was just awful for months, wasn't it?
And many sleepless nights, because again we wanted to stay with her 24/7 in case she went downhill again. So there was lots of sleeping on the floor, weren't there? Taking it in turns, taking shifts.
Exactly. It was a slow progress. We'll put some video footage if you are watching this on YouTube to accompany this, and it'll kind of show from the beginning when we got her home. She didn't have any movement at all until when she started getting some movement back, which was in her tail. I can't begin to tell you how relieved we were when her tail started moving again for the first time.
And it was just a minor twitch and things like that at first. It was many weeks, about 3 or 4 weeks before we saw any signs of any movement. And the whole time you're thinking, is this it? Is this how she's going to be? So when you start seeing those little sort of rays of light, it gives you a bit more hope.
It does, doesn't it? I mean, we were glad she made it through the surgery. We didn't want to lose her. But, of course, you do want you want your dog to make more of a recovery and as much as possible. So it was a slow recovery. It still is a slow recovery. But she's now undergoing physiotherapy and hydrotherapy every week. And she's gradually making progress, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. I mean, it might be worth in a future episode to actually share what we did, things we tried to try and help her recovery.
Yeah, we did discuss that in the previous episode. I mean, she was stage 1 or 2 then. So she did kind of walk out of the hospital almost and had her recovery after the surgery, and then it was just helping her back on her feet. This time was a lot worse, so there was a lot more involved in the recovery side of things. So we can go into it in a lot more detail, maybe in future episodes. But for now, she's recovering well. She can walk 10 to 12 steps, I'd say, before she stumbles over.
She's a little bit wobbly on her back end, but at least she can go to the toilet when she chooses to now. She can wag her tail, and she's got enough mobility to move around in the living room. So we do feel better leaving her by herself for a little bit.
And she's got a stroller when we go outside for walks, and she can walk around with a sling and have a few 10-minute walks each day to try and build up the muscles gradually.
I mean, the strange thing is, both times it's happened when she's been due to be spayed that very week. So we booked her in to get her fixed, and every time, or both times, she's come down with IVDD now. So we're a bit paranoid, aren't we?
Yeah, the vet actually said, "Ooh, I don't think she wants to be done, does she?" Which seems an extreme length to go to get out of it. So yeah, so she is still intact at the moment, not able to have her surgery done, which is kind of on the back burner for now. That's not really a big issue. She just does suffer a little bit when she's in season, and then she has her phantom pregnancies afterwards. So yeah, we'll deal with that as it happens, but at least for now she's recovering from her spinal surgery. That's the main thing.
Okay, so you're going to go on to talk about a previous case?
Yes. Now, I know we're not a true crime podcast, but since Nikki mentioned this man, Kieran Patrick Kelly, in the last episode, episode 7, I was intrigued and wanted to research more into the story. Before I let you know what I found out, though, let's remind ourselves of what Nikki told us.
B said, using a variety of methods he tried to kill people in London, from pushing people in front of trains to setting them on fire to poisoning them, over a period of some 30 years.
Setting fire to them as well. So, okay, pushing someone in front of a train, you could say, oh, maybe that was an accident. Setting fire to someone.
Oh no, he claimed he did it on purpose. He did them on purpose.
But no one saw this.
This thing, people die all the time, don't they?
But not normally, but through being set fire to on the platform. I mean, Jesus Christ.
This was between 1960 and 1983. It was the period he was in London.
That's when he reckons he was doing all this.
He claims he killed 31 people.
That's ridiculous. We're going to have to look further into this guy, because that's insane.
If he's mentally unwell, you've got to take it with a pinch of salt, haven't you?
No, because there must have been crimes that have been reported as someone who'd been set fire to on the platform.
Again, you'd have to look into it more, but he might not have given dates and times and all the incidents in London, trying to nail it down. It'd be very hard.
Nail it down? How many people are being set fire to on the platform? They could narrow it down. I'm looking into this because this is crazy.
Anyway.
I apologise. Carry on. So, as Nikki mentioned, Kieran Patrick Kelly was arrested for petty theft in 1983. Whilst in the holding cell, he strangled his cellmate, William Boyd, to death, and during his interrogation, he gave a series of confessions, claiming to have murdered, or attempted to have murdered, dozens of people in the London Underground, either by pushing them in front of trains, setting them on fire, or poisoning them. If these claims are true, he will have been one of the UK's most prolific serial killers. Kieran Patrick Kelly was born in 1930 in Rathdowney, County Laois in Ireland. His family moved to Dublin in the 1940s, and he became involved in petty crime from an early age. He had a very slight build, but quite a large nose apparently, so was known by the nickname Nosy Kelly. When he was 18, he enrolled in the British Army, but was dishonourably discharged for going AWOL, then moved back and forth between Dublin and London for a few years before finally settling in London in 1960. He then got married, had children, and worked in the construction industry for some years before his growing alcoholism led to the breakup of his marriage, losing his job, and becoming homeless. He is known to have had mental health issues and spent 2 years in Broadmoor Hospital in 1969 after being caught committing an armed robbery and being found guilty after a trial at the Old Bailey. However, according to his confession tapes in 1983, his serious crimes began much earlier than that. He claimed that he murdered his best friend, Christy Smith, in 1953. The pair had travelled around London together, drinking and committing petty thefts during the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II, when apparently Christie had made some kind of homosexual jibe at Kelly about him maybe being gay as he wasn't married. Kelly said he pushed Christie in front of the tube train at Baker Street Station as he didn't want his sexual preferences becoming public knowledge. In the police interviews in 1983, he stated, "This was the one that started it all." The following is a timeline of murders that are known to police, and certain details given by Kelly had not been previously released to the public, so it is generally accepted that either Kelly was the perpetrator or at least a witness to the events of the victim's death. Now, this timeline of murders is also compiled on a website called murderuk.com that we'll put a link to in the description box. So, 25th of December 1975. Kelly's first identified victim by police at the time was an elderly gentleman, Hector Fisher. He was found in a Clapham churchyard on Christmas Day, stabbed repeatedly about the neck and the head. Last seen alive on Christmas Eve, Fisher had been loitering with several men dressed up as Father Christmas. Police grilled a dozen suspects in the case, including Kieran Patrick Kelly, but they found no evidence that would support a murder charge. 31st of May 1977. Edward Toll was sleeping on a gravestone that Kelly liked to sleep on. He took some rope that he was using as a belt and strangled Toll. 2nd of June 1977. 68-year-old Maurice Whaley was found dead in Soho. His face and genitals had been mutilated and the neck of a broken bottle had been thrust up his rectum. Police found Kelly and another homeless man in the neighbourhood with bloodstains on their clothing. Kelly was charged with the murder. His companion described the crime in grisly detail. 6 months passed before the trial and Kelly was acquitted after his barrister branded the state's key witness an alcoholic, blind drunk at the time of the murder. The witness subsequently vanished and was never seen again. Kelly later admitted to this murder in 1983. August 1982. Mickey Dunn was a fellow alcoholic. Homeless, both men would often sleep in the graveyard in Tooting. Dunn had also previously given evidence against Kelly in a prior murder trial. One night, Kelly mixed up some surgical spirit with some amphetamines, some other drugs he had stolen from a chemist, and some orange juice. He gave this to Mickey Dunn, who after a while fell asleep and died a few days later. Kelly was never brought to justice over this. In fact, the first the police knew of Kelly's involvement was when he confessed in 1983 on these tapes. May 1983. An elderly man was pushed onto the tracks at London's Kensington station, only saved when the driver managed to stop the train in time. Witnesses identified Kelly as the attacker, prompting his arrest on charges of attempted murder. At his trial, the jury failed to reach a verdict and Kelly was acquitted. 4th of August 1983. Kelly was arrested for robbery and being drunk in public. Locked in a police cell overnight, he was angry about having to share his cell. He crushed the skull of William Boyd, finishing him off with a garrote made from his socks and shoelaces. Kelly confessed to 5 other murders, not including Boyd. He admitted killing Hector Fisher and Maurice Whaley. Other victims included the missing witness from his first murder trial and an elderly homeless man pushed beneath a train days after the Kensington station attack. Authorities confirmed a fatal accident at Oval Station on the date in question, but they had no firm corroborating evidence. June 1984. At the Old Bailey in London, Kelly was found guilty of the murders of William Boyd and Hector Fisher. Kelly was sentenced to life imprisonment. At his trial at the Old Bailey, a psychologist suggested that it would probably never be safe to release Kelly from prison and that he should spend the rest of his natural life behind bars. In 2001, Kieran Patrick Kelly died in HMP Frankland, County Durham, at the age of 71 from natural causes. As mentioned, during his confession to police after killing his cellmate, Kelly said he has successfully murdered at least 5 people and attempted to have murdered dozens more. However, in 2015, a former detective of the name Jeff Platt published a book called The London Underground Serial Killer, asserting that Kelly had possibly killed around 31 people, but this was covered up by the British Home Office to avoid public panic to the fact that a serial killer had been running around unnoticed for 30-odd years. Platt wrote that, as a young detective at the time, he spoke with Kelly just after the murder of Boyd and was intrigued enough with the story to go on to publish his book 32 years later. Kelly had apparently stated his preferred victim group was homosexuals, police witnesses, and people who reminded him of his first victim, Christy Smith. Serial killers usually target one particular demographic, so Kelly was very unique in the fact that he pursued several victim groups and used various methods of killing, which would have confused any potential profiling, as there just doesn't seem to be a particular pattern. In light of these cover-up allegations, the then Metropolitan Chief of Police, Sir Bernard Hogan Howe, promised to undertake an investigation into these claims, although I cannot find any official reports about this particular case to say that this happened. Another book about Kelly was published by an Irish journalist, Robert Mulhern, in 2019, called The Secret Serial Killer, The True Story of Kieran Kelly, which offers a different narrative, and Mulhern believes that Kelly probably killed far fewer people, maybe 5 or 6 instead of 31. There's also been a docudrama released in 2020 called The Nobody Zone, Interview with an Irish Serial Killer. It stars Ned Dennehy, who is in Peaky Blinders, as Kelly, and recreates the police interviews using the real-life audio, but lip-synced by the actors to bring the events to life on screen. So, was Kieran Patrick Kelly just mad? Or a fantasist who wanted the notoriety of other prolific serial killers of the time, such as Dennis Nielsen and Peter Sutcliffe? Either way, he was definitely dangerous and was convicted of 2 murders, Boyd and Fisher, with the high probability that he had killed a minimum of 4 more people, which would definitely put him under the classification of a serial killer, which is defined as a person who murders 3 or more people, with the killings taking place over a significant period of time in separate events. According to Jeff Platt's book, Kelly's favourite place to nudge people in front of tube trains was along the northern line of the London Underground. As Nikki spoke about in the last episode, there are many reports of paranormal activity along this line, including feelings of being touched. So, maybe the ghost of Kieran Patrick Kelly is still roaming the underground, looking for his next victim.
There is something quite unique about the Christmas setting and ghosts. Maybe it's the chill in the air, maybe it's the leafless trees and darker nights, as if nature is holding its breath and waiting for spring. I think Dickens' A Christmas Carol is probably the most famous ghost story that many will think of when it comes to winter, but there are others. One of the most famous winter ghosts is Japan's Yuki-Onna, or Snow Woman. With her long black hair and ghostly white kimono, her skin is ageless, flawless, and as white as the snowy regions they tend to inhabit, but their bodies are as cold as ice. A mere touch is enough to make a human shake with the cold. They feed on life force of the living, sucking it from the human's mouth with an icy breath that freezes their victims, leaving them encased in solid ice. Often targeting those lost in the cold. While her origins vary, some say she is the spirit of a woman who perished in the snow. Tales about her consistently emphasise her ethereal beauty and deadly nature. She can either show mercy or freeze her victims with a single breath, depending on her prey's actions and the purity of their hearts. They inhabit the mountains, where they prey on the travellers in those remote regions, or they can break into homes and flash freeze the inhabitants during the night. While they are killers, Yuki-Onna are not entirely cold-blooded. Legend says they can fall in love with their intended prey and let them go free. Some go so far as to marry humans and live happily together. As supernatural spirits never age, however, their husbands inevitably discover their true identities. This revelation usually ends these unhappy marriages. In Yamagata Prefecture, an elderly man operated a mountain inn with his wife and had run in with one of these spirits. One snowy night the inn was visited by a young lady travelling alone. She warmed herself by the fire and ate with the innkeeper and his wife. She was sweet and charming and extremely beautiful, so it was even more surprising when in the middle of the night during a fierce blizzard she stood up and made to leave the inn. The innkeeper begged her not to go outside and took her hand to hold her back. It was as cold as ice. Merely touching it sucked all the warmth from the innkeeper's body. As he tried to keep the girl in the house, her entire body turned into fine icy mist and shot up the chimney and out into the night. A man from the Niigata prefecture claimed that he had been married to a Yuki-Onna. His wife was beautiful with piercing eyes and skin as white as marble statue. While he loved to take long hot baths every night, his wife always refused to bathe. This puzzled him greatly. One particularly cold and snowy night he insisted that his wife take a bath, otherwise she would freeze to death in the cold. He said she protested, but there was no reasoning with the man. Finally she acquiesced. When he went in to check on her a few minutes later, all he found in the tub were half-melted icicles. In Alpine regions, tales of the Schneegeister, snow ghosts, circulate among mountain villages. These spirits are said to be the souls of those who died in avalanches or succumbed to the icy peaks. They wander the highlands, their mournful cries carried by the wind, warning climbers and skiers of impending danger. Villagers often leave offerings at shrines to appease these restless spirits and seek protection from the mountain's wrath. Russian folklore gives us Morozko, the frost spirit. While not always depicted as malevolent, Morozko icy touch is a reminder of winter's harshness. In some tales he is a spectral figure who helps or hinders based on one's virtue. Beneath his chilling demeanour lies a deep connection to the winter season, embodying its duality of beauty and danger. Morozko origins are from Slavic folklore, an ancient precursor to the Russian equivalent of Santa Claus, known as Ded Moroz, also known as Grandfather Frost. Ded Moroz wears a heel-length fur coat in red or blue, a semi-round fur hat and Valenki boots on his feet. He has a long white beard, he walks with a long magic walking stick and often rides a troika, a type of sleigh. He is often depicted bringing presents to well-mannered children, often delivering them in person in the days of December and secretly under the New Year tree overnight on New Year's Eve. Yuri Luskov, then mayor of Moscow, declared Veletsky Ustyug as the home of Ded Moroz between 2003 and 2010. The post office in Veletsky Ustyug received approximately 2 million letters from within Russia and from all over the world for Ded Moroz. The phenomenon of ghost lights, or will-o'-the-wisps, also finds its place in winter folklore, particularly in Arctic regions. Known as Aqualashat among the Inuit, these spectral lights are believed to be the souls of the departed, guided or misleading travellers in the endless polar night. Their eerie glow combined with the aurora borealis adds to a supernatural dimension to the Arctic wilderness. So Davina, why do you feel people see more ghosts in the winter months as opposed to in the summer?
Okay, maybe because I've got a couple of theories on this. Just off the top of my head, I'm thinking winter months kind of start October onwards. I would imagine they do in here in England. Halloween time, you've got that whole thing about the veil is thinner between this world and the next world. So maybe that kind of goes on into midwinter. Maybe also the nights draw in a lot earlier, and then back in the day, before the days of electric lights and things like that, people couldn't carry on with their work, so they had more time indoors, the families, and would maybe while away the hours telling ghost stories to each other, which are probably born out of local legend.
Yeah, that's one reason. So I've noted down some sceptical point of views first as why we have these. So the darker, longer nights psychologically can affect us. Likewise, people may misinterpret shadows caused by artificial lights, etc. as possible sightings. And I mean, back in the day, you'd have had probably a fire would have been your only light. So again, very diminished.
Can you imagine as well seeing the borealis? That would have been something amazing, wouldn't it? You'd have thought, oh my God, there's definitely something out there.
I'll let you know, I haven't seen it yet. But
no, me neither.
I keep trying whenever they say you can, but no luck. It's also cold, and some believe that you feel cold before, during, or indeed just after you witness something unnatural. So it might almost be priming us for it already.
Yeah.
You know, you have that unnatural shiver, but you are actually cold. You've just hit a draft, but your mind might jump to something else.
Makes sense.
In some communities, they are remote. They become even more isolated, even cut off from other places during the winter through snow and what have you. And that psychological effect of being alone can often play on people's paranoia and loneliness.
Okay.
Heavy snow can dampen sounds down, making them seem unnatural.
Yes. Doesn't that play into the whole thing with the hikers feel like they can hear someone behind them when they're going up snowy mountains and things?
Possibly. There is that, what's that called? There's a phantom phenomenon, isn't it, where they believe there's someone else on the mountain with them?
I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head.
We'll have to look that up and do an episode on it. One person on Reddit, when I was looking this up, even commented he believes ghost activity is nothing more than people using heating systems and pipes that have done very little during the summer, creaking, tapping and warming up, which I thought was a fair point.
Yeah.
The obvious one, people consume more alcohol over the holiday period. So it's spirits of a different kind.
Yeah, more spirits.
Also, psychologically, at Christmas you will think of those you have lost. Those family members not there. Those friends not there. So it's playing on your mind already.
Yeah.
So it might be that you interpret something as maybe them come back.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the one really which those stories that I said before tie in with, the fear and the danger of the wilderness at this time of year. I mean, we're very lucky nowadays. It's not that dangerous, is it? But in some places, when it's snowy, it can be life and death, especially when people were cut off.
Yeah, certain environments, if you're in a forest during the day, it's not as scary as if you were camping in a forest of a night time. Every little snap of a twig or a creak or funny noise, you're going to be jumping about, aren't you?
That's the thing. How often do we, where we live particularly, we don't ever experience true darkness, do we? Because of street lights and things like that. Mm-hmm. When was the last time you were ever somewhere truly dark?
I can't think, actually.
Well, I think it was when we crossed the moors in the car. I know we had the car headlights, but that was it, weren't it?
Yeah, that was dark on there, black on black, wasn't it? That was dark.
Now, if you're somewhere like that, it's going to be more scary, isn't it?
Yes.
So, can you think of any paranormal beliefs? Any that maybe that's why it happens that time of year?
Are we talking December time?
Yeah.
Because we've already spoken a little bit about Halloween time.
Yeah, but
that's got its own
anything
legend.
that's pro for the paranormal side to believe why it would happen this time of year?
I mean, the legends must have come from something. Most legends have a kernel of truth in them, don't they? Maybe something had happened in a region that's kick-started a story that's turned into a legend, maybe?
Well, I think with those examples before, it was kind of just like the boogeyman tale, isn't it? Like, if you go into the mountains, you're probably going to freeze to death if you're not careful.
Yeah.
So, the pro-paranormal people, a lot of their beliefs are, one which you said, which was that the veil between the worlds is meant to be thinner during the winter months.
Yes.
Yeah, so you get a point for that.
Thank you.
One obvious one for most people, we are in the houses more often, so you're more likely to witness anything paranormal that's happening. If you're at work most of the time, for example, you're not there to witness, so stuff might move, there might be bangs, taps, whatever. You're not there to see it.
Right, yeah.
So, fair play. It is also the season of death, and some people believe it helps give them more energy.
What?
Yeah, well, everything dies off during the winter.
Right.
So some people believe, who are believers in this sort of paranormal increase in the winter, is because it is the season of death.
Okay.
Some believe paranormal forces are more powerful in the dark, and it's darker for longer.
Yeah.
Sadly, more people die in the wintertime due to accidents in vehicles or just dying because of the cold and getting sick. So there's more dead people if they were like reliving events and things to actually be happening during that time of year.
Right.
One Reddit user called Juniper War wrote this, and I'll be honest, I don't quite understand it, but I was going to see what you thought. More energy in the air due to the weather of dry and cold, causing static electricity. Ghosts need energy in order to manifest and use electricity and electromagnetics to do that. So that static electricity in the air can transfer over to usable energy for them to manipulate objects and manifest to show up physically. There is a reason people believe in wintertime as being the true season for the dead, due to the wild hunt, and that the veil between worlds thins because in a way it's thinner when there is more energy for them to come in to interact with the world. Now, I didn't quite understand all that. I understand little bits of it. What do you think?
Right, so she's saying because we
Well,
have...
he or she.
He or she, sorry. They are saying that because we're using more power, more lighting, heating maybe as well, is on a lot more than obviously in the summertime. Using the kettle more? I don't know, it's creating more energy.
No, I think it's more about well, they're basically saying about static electricity in the air, but I don't really understand it.
No, not quite sure what she means.
No.
She means with that.
I looked up about the wild hunt. Apparently there's a widespread European folklore motif of a spectral ghostly hunting party that rides through the night sky, often led by figures like Odin, a devil or a ghostly king, accompanied by howling hounds, signalling storms, war or death, and sometimes sweeping up mortals who witness it. It appears in Germanic, Celtic and Slavic myths.
Okay.
Rosie's just started snoring. If it's being picked up, that's Rosie having a snooze.
She's just laying next to me. I'm not sure if the microphone is picking this up, but she's just really going for it. She must be having one heck of a dream. Yeah, that's interesting. So, and that can be seen all over Europe.
Apparently, yeah.
Cool. Not seen that myself, but the Wild Hunt. That's interesting.
I have heard of it though. Maybe that was some mythology book I've read. I did find this quite a good one. Someone said you see more ghosts because basically they feel the cold too and want to come indoors. That was one of them. And also your ghost plays up more because they get fed up with you being in the house more.
Really?
Yeah, that's one. Well, that's what someone said. It's just a joke, but could be true.
Okay. I'll say I did like the story about Jet Moroz, which is Russian was the Russian story. Kind of sounds a bit like a mix between St. Nick and Krampus, which I thought had its origins in Germanic legend. St. Nick and, Krampus, the half goat, half demon.
There was a film of that, wasn't there, we watched?
Did we see it?
I think we saw it, didn't we?
I don't know. I'm sure it was on our list to watch, but I don't know if we've actually seen it. Yeah, so it does sound a bit like a mix between those two characters. But that's Russian. I've not heard of that one before.
But a lot of myths seem to be spread around the world, don't they? Like, everyone's got certain myths that are in every culture for some reason.
Yeah.
I think people were more well-travelled than we realised.
And then, of course, you had the Romans. They kind of took other people's traditions and cultures.
Anything that was good, they'd take. Or they'd slide them in with their own, wouldn't they, some of the gods?
Yeah.
Because they did that with some of the druid beliefs, didn't they? They slid some of them in.
If you love chilling tales and eerie encounters, don't miss a single episode. Follow Spirit Hounds on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get your audio fix. From supernatural stories to forgotten folklore, we dive deep into the shadows with tales that linger long after the lights go out. Hit subscribe and let the hauntings begin. Okay, before we get into the dog training part of the episode, I wanted to just take a moment and pay tribute to one of our little buddies who we sadly lost a few months ago. This is a tribute to our friend, Jack. Jack was a little terrier mix of something. The owner thought maybe a Patterdale. He had a jaunty little walk with a swagger that looked very cool, and one ear that permanently jutted out, constantly pointing to something to his right. Locally known as Handsome Jack, he had a cheeky character, killed more toys than I can remember. He really should have been employed to test those so-called indestructible toys, as they never lasted more than a few minutes with him. Always made sure he was closest to whoever was holding the treats, and wouldn't hesitate to leap up and snuggle next to you on the sofa for a cuddle. We walked and looked after Jack since September 2020, and he was around 7 years old then. On our first walk, we took him to meet Charlie, the chocolate Labrador, who we'd been walking for around 3 years at that time. And from the moment they met, they became firm friends. In fact, the image I have on the side of my work car is the first picture we took of Jack and Charlie on their first walk together. Back then, we would walk Charlie and Jack every day until Jack's owner retired, so they had loads of adventures together, and it got to the point where we couldn't walk one of them past the other one's house without them trying to drag us towards the front door, as if to say, "Come on, we've got to get Charlie," or "We've got to go get Jack." This was such a lovely thing to see, but very bittersweet and painful when we lost Charlie in July 2024, as Jack would still faithfully try and lead us to Charlie's house and always look at us quizzically as we would tearfully lead him away again and say, "Sorry buddy, Charlie isn't there anymore." Over the 5 years we walked Jack, I think he must have met all the other dogs we walk, and I was able to take some lovely photos and send them to his owner. These will be showing on the screen right now if you are watching this on YouTube. When we got Rosie at the beginning of 2024, we were only walking Jack sporadically, but he would always make a beeline to run across the road and say hello whenever he was walking past if we happened to be outside, plus take the opportunity to investigate whatever shopping we had bought by just sticking his head in the bags and rummaging around. When Jack came over to our house to meet Rosie for the first time, he was so gentle and sweet with her. She was still a little nervous about being in a new home, but Jack didn't overwhelm her by trying to make her play. He calmly walked around, had a sniff, and let her come to him in her own time. They too became good friends, and Charlie and Jack helped Rosie learn how to walk outside, something we don't think she had done much of, as she was petrified of the outdoors when we started taking her out. They would all walk nicely and calmly together, and really made Rosie feel part of the pack, then lie down and have a sunbathe together afterwards if the sun was out. Again, pictures of this will be showing on your screen if you're watching on YouTube. Sadly, the wheels of time turned far too quickly, and it was only a matter of months later when we lost Charlie in July 2024, as I mentioned. So the trio became an intermittent duo for a little while, until Rosie was diagnosed with stage 2 IVDD in August 2024 and had to have strict crate rest for a month or so, which didn't work, and she ended up having spinal surgery in October 2024, so we couldn't have any dogs visit as she needed to stay quiet and calm, and she wasn't able to see her friend for around 5 months in total, until January this year, 2025. Unfortunately, during this time, Jack developed a heart murmur, and any overexertion would cause him to become breathless and sometimes collapse for a few minutes. This was very distressing to witness, but he was soon given medication which seemed to stabilise him, albeit he was no longer allowed off-lead to run around anymore, just to have slow, sedate walks. For several months, Jack seemed to be getting better and back to his old chipper self, but then suddenly the medication stopped working for him and he started to go downhill again. He would have coughing episodes, which would result in him not being able to breathe properly. Then he would collapse again. He then began going off his food and vomiting frequently, and in the end, the owner had to make the hardest decision, to allow the vet to put Jack to sleep, with the only solace being that he was no longer suffering. Having lost Charlie last year, Ivy earlier this year, combined with Rosie going through spinal surgery again, now her second one within 10 months, the loss of Jack hit really hard and really felt like the end of an era. I hope Charlie was there at the end waiting for Jack, and they are now off having adventures together again. When my time comes, I hope to see them again and all the furry friends we have lost over the years. And I'll try and make sure I have a big bag of treats on me, otherwise I will never hear the end of it. So here's to you, Jack. You are a beautiful boy and we really miss you, buddy. Okay. Now, before I hand over to Nikki, who's going to discuss a very handy technique on how to successfully get your dog to take medication, I just wanted to briefly talk about the following. I recently had a discussion with one of my training clients about the correct side to walk their dog on. My client had previously taken their dog to a training class, and the instructor there told the class to always walk their dog on the left-hand side. I had heard of this years ago whilst undertaking various dog training courses, but there was no explanation as to why we have this arbitrary rule. So I conducted some research, and following my recent discussion with this training client, I thought I would share this truth behind this rule with our listeners as well, which is, there is no correct side to walk your dog on. Traditionally, dogs were trained to walk on the left-hand side of their owners or handlers only because, historically, most people were, Nikki?
Right-handed?
Yes. And needed to leave their dominant hand free, either because they were out hunting and needed easy access to their weapons, or later on for greetings and handshakes, as is the gentlemanly way. Later on, this evolved to convenience for owners to access treats, using poo bags, clickers, etc. But this tradition has carried on. Nowadays, police officers in canine dog units train their dogs to walk on the opposite side of how they hold their firearm. So, for example, if they're left-handed, the dog walks on the right and vice versa, but they cannot switch sides. Also, guide dogs are trained to walk on the left-hand side of their person, unless there's an injury on the owner's left side that prohibits this. And as such, you must not walk along with the owner on the left-hand side of the dog, as this can distract and confuse the dog. Instead, you would walk on the owner's right-hand side and a few paces behind on the pavement. In UK dog shows, the show side is the left side of the dog, so the owner would need to have the dog on their left-hand side. So when you're going around the ring, the dog is shown walking around on the left-hand side in full view, not being partially hidden by the person. And in certain events like agility, the dog is required to be on the traditional left-hand side and in the heel position. I've even heard that left side walking teaches your dog that you are a more dominant pack member than they are, which is nonsense, as loose lead walking works on either side of you. So, apart from those instances of the dog needing to be on the left-hand side, for regular, domestic, everyday pets, you can walk your dog on any side that is comfortable and convenient for you. Ideally, teach your dog to walk on either side of you and at heel. Back in episode 6, we do have full details of lead etiquette, but when you are walking, don't let the dog zigzag along on either side of you. Whilst walking alongside a road, it is safer to walk with your dog on the inside of the pavement in case they suddenly try to dart out into the road and you can easily body block them. Obviously, depending on which direction and on which side of the road you are walking, this will mean walking the dog on different sides of you. In England, cars drive on the left-hand side of the road, so if we are walking on the side of the pavement closest towards oncoming traffic, it is better to have the dog on our right-hand side where we can keep them safe. So, in summary, it is not important which side you walk your dog on as long as they are on a lead, not zigzagging back and forth, and not dragging you along the road. If you are right-handed, you may find it easier to walk them on the left. Conversely, if you are left-handed, it might be easier if they are on your right, as long as they are under control and safe. And now, with that being said, it's over to Nikki, who has a great technique on how to get your dog to take tablets calmly and happily.
Okay, so we've had to give many dogs tablets over the years, various medications and things, and most dogs are quite fussy about taking tablets, even the flavoured ones. Most people will think of wrapping a tablet up. We used to like dairy slices tend to be the thing we use, and most dogs are fine with that, but you will get some that will find the tablet in it. They know what's happening. They'll spit the tablet out and have the cheese. So what we tend to do is we will wrap the tablet in a bit of the cheese, have a bit of the cheese given to them before the tablet, then the tablet, and have one waiting, another bit of cheese just ready to wait. Dogs are greedy, they want it all and they'll eat it as quickly as possible. So the one with the tablet in, they'll have had a bit of cheese beforehand and go, well, that's okay. They'll just take the second one with the tablet really quick because they want to get to the third one. And it tends to work on pretty much every dog we've met.
Yeah, it does work really well. Not just with tablets as well. There was one dog who needed to have some liquid medication, and the owner previously only really was able to get the medication into the dog by holding onto the dog, squirting it down the throat, holding the mouth closed so, the dog would have to swallow the medication down, which wasn't great for the owner to have to do, not very enjoyable for the dog either. So I applied this same technique that we were using on Rosie that he'd come up with for this dog. So this dog was having the medication on some turkey slices. So squirt the medication in a bit of the turkey slice, have a plain bit before, the bit with the medication, and a plain bit afterwards. And the dog was just, this is brilliant. So I'd have the bit in my hand, give him the plain bit. He was like, oh yeah, this is fine, nothing in there. Haha. Then he'd greedily scoff the next bit that had the medication in it, while I was holding the last bit, which had nothing, going, and you want this bit next? You want this? And he was just scoffing it down and then took the last bit. And that worked every single time for that dog. It was brilliant.
It got to the point where he looked forward to it, didn't it?
Oh, God, yeah. We'd come home from his walk and he would be at the back door waiting to go into his little fridge that was outside in the garage. And he had his own special turkey slices there and he was ready for it. In fact, he was quite upset when his course of medication finished. So yeah, this is a really, really good technique. And well, like I mentioned before, all the medication that Rosie came home with after her first and second operations, she had a lot of tablets every few hours that she had to take. And she obviously wasn't very happy with taking them. But using that technique really, really helped. I would recommend it for anyone that has to have their dog take tablets.
So the general rule is the first bit's no tablets, then tablet, and then every other one you can have tablet, cheese, tablet, cheese, tablet, cheese, to get however much medication you need in them.
Yeah, it's a really, really good technique. Try it out for yourselves and you will see if you're showing the dog the bit after the bit with the medication in, they are going to scoff that bit down to get to that next bit and then whoop, it's gone and you won't have to worry about it.
It's worth saying some tablets do have a terrible taste, so you do have to make sure they are properly coated. Rosie's particularly funny with that. If the cheese hasn't completely covered the tablet, she will spit it out. So it does have to wrap all the way around it.
Yeah, for her, a bit of dairy slice works. Some other dogs might be a bit of sausage. Other dogs, a bit of chicken slice or turkey slice. They are usually quite good at eating the food and leaving the medication. But if you can really cover it up, and the good thing about the dairy slice is, or other cheese slices are available, is that it's mouldable. You can really mould it around the tablet and not have any seams or bits open that they can sniff out the tablet inside. So yeah, that's it. Thank you, Nikki, for that. That's a really good technique and I would urge everyone to try that. Okay, so I thought I'd give you a little demonstration of what Nikki was talking about in the episode on how to get your dog to take tablets if they're not very good at taking tablets. So Rosie only likes to have her tablets wrapped in dairy cheese slice. So her daily tablet at the moment is half of one of these You Move tablets. They're for her joints and all that kind of thing. So she has half of these a day, but she won't take it on its own. So we need to break it down and wrap it up for her. So what you do is, I just break that in half. They're quite easy, these ones, because they're quite soft, but you might have to cut an actual tablet up, but those ones are quite easy to break up. Get a bit of cheese, rip a bit off. You can use sausage, but Rosie likes the cheese. So I wrap that in the cheese, like you would normally, or a piece of sausage or whatever. Wrap that up. Nice and packed tight, so no bits are showing, like so. Same with the next bit. Pack that up. Squeeze it all together. There you go. Then you need a few other little bits of cheese or sausage, and the idea is you give a bit of cheese first, so it's just plain cheese. The dog thinks there's no trap. Then the bit with the tablet in. Then another bit of plain cheese. Rosie's got 2 lots to take here, so then I'd give that bit. And then another bit of plain cheese. So you give the first bit, so the dog thinks, oh yeah, that's okay, that's just plain cheese, while you're holding these other bits. So they're looking at all these bits, like so. So they're eating that bit, then they're looking at that bit. Oh, I want to get that bit next. 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 And then the next thing you know, they've eaten a whole lot. So I will now show you with Rosie. So we have all the little bits of cheese here, ready to give to Rosie. Good girl, Rosie. Stay, stay. So what we do, we go, oh, you want that bit? Good girl. You want that bit? Good girl. You want this bit? Here you go, good girl. What about this bit? Good girl. And then this bit? You want this bit too? Good girl. And there we go, they're all gone. Good girl, Rosie, all gone. Good girl, well done. Well done. Okay, so before we end this episode, we won't have a chance to get another episode out before Christmas, so I just wanted to have a quick chat about pets and Christmas dinner. Now, our pets are our family, and just as we gather our family around to share a beautiful Christmas dinner, it is very tempting to share it with our pets as well. I say pets because I'm including cats as well as dogs in this segment. There are certain foods that are just as dangerous to cats as to dogs, so here are some things to be mindful of over the festive period to ensure your pet doesn't end up with any digestive issues or trips to the vets. So number 1, turkey. Dogs and cats can have turkey in small quantities, but make sure it is boneless, skinless, and it's only the white meat, with no stuffing or seasoning. It's best to prepare and cook some separately, as we do for Rosie. So we take a bit off before the turkey's cooked, and it's just cooked separately with no stuffing, no sauces, no fats, nothing like that in with it. So it's just some plain turkey breast for her. Number 2, bacon, ham, sausages, stuffing, bones, gravy or sauces are all big no-nos. Bacon, ham and sausage contains high fat, salt and preservative contents. High sodium levels can lead to dehydration and even salt poisoning. High fat content can cause GI, gastrointestinal upsets, such as vomiting, diarrhea or pancreatitis, and the preservatives like nitrates and nitrites that are in cured bacon has been linked to cellular damage, which could increase the risk of cancer over time. The next one, stuffing, usually contains garlic and onion. Both are members of the allium family of plants and are highly toxic. They contain compounds such as thiosulfate and N-propyl disulfide, which causes damage to their red blood cells and can lead to hemolytic anemia, which is an autoimmune disease where the body attacks its own red blood cells, which transports the oxygen around the body. So garlic and onion, although that can be good for humans, Dogs and cats just cannot metabolize these foods like humans can, so it's best to just not give it at all. Gravy and sauces. These can contain some very harmful ingredients, such as onion, garlic, salt, butter, fats. Some sauces have cream and milk in them. Many dogs and cats are lactose intolerant, so dairy-based sauces can upset their digestion. And they can also contain spices and seasonings, and things like pepper, nutmeg, or heavy seasonings can upset a pet's digestion or cause a toxic reaction. I actually carried out some research into this in a local supermarket, and every single gravy product, whether that be powder form, granules, sauces, and all the stock cubes or broths on the shelf had at least one of these ingredients in it, mostly onions and garlic. Bones is next on the list. Cooked bones become brittle and are more likely to splinter. These sharp fragments can puncture a dog's mouth, throat, or gastrointestinal tract. The dog could choke if any pieces get lodged in their throat. The pieces can cause blockages or perforations in the intestines. And anyway, once they've been cooked, they don't really have any nutritional value anymore. The nutrients and the collagen are lost during the cooking process. If you want to give your dog a bone or something to chew on, choose a dog-safe one, such as a knuckle bone. Make sure it's larger than your dog's mouth, that's a good rule of thumb, and supervise them to make sure they don't hurt their teeth or choke on anything. Heavy, aggressive chewers may also like those deer antlers, which are natural and durable. And if you have a puppy, give a puppy-appropriate chew, nothing too hard as their mouths and jaws are still developing. When it comes to vegetables, things like boiled parsnips, boiled sweet potato, carrots, green beans, peas and steamed broccoli are fine for cats and dogs. Dogs can also have cauliflower, Brussels sprouts and cabbage. Just make sure they're not cooked with salt, spices, butters or fats. Also, the stalks of broccoli and cauliflower are high in fibre, so it's best to cut those off and just give the florets part of the vegetable. And like a human, Brussels sprouts and cabbage can have a bit of a flatulent effect on your pet, so just not too much of that. When it comes to the potatoes, plain boiled potatoes or plain mashed potato is fine. Cranberry sauce. In small amounts, fresh cranberries are safe for dogs. If you're making the cranberry sauce from scratch, keep a small amount of the cranberries to one side for your dog before you add any sugars, etc. Another big no-no are things like Christmas cake, Christmas pudding, mince pies, and those Stollen cakes. A Stollen cake is a fruity bread with nuts, spices, dried or candied fruit in it, coated with a powdered sugar or icing sugar, and often contains marzipan. The reason they can't have these items is because they contain raisins, currants, sultanas, grapes and spices, which are all toxic to cats and dogs and can cause kidney failure. It's not even known what the toxic dose is, so even if your pet ingests just a small amount, say just one raisin, seek immediate veterinary attention. Another no-no is chocolate, because firstly, it can contain caffeine, which can be fatal even in small doses. Symptoms include agitation, hyperactivity, vomiting, diarrhea, high blood pressure, abnormal heart rhythm, muscle spasms, seizures, elevated body temperature. Chocolate also contains a substance called theobromine, which is toxic to dogs, cats and rabbits. These animals metabolize theobromine much slower than humans can, so they're more susceptible to its effects. The concentration of theobromine varies by type of chocolate. So with dark chocolate and baking chocolate, that would have a higher level than milk chocolate due to its higher cocoa content. White chocolate doesn't contain cocoa solids, but still don't allow your pets to eat it because it also contains a lot of fat and sugar, which can cause stomach upsets and even pancreatitis. A popular sugar substitute is called xylitol, which is also toxic to dogs. This is found in a lot of sugar-free treats and Christmas treats such as candy canes, chocolate, muffins, brownies, cookies, cake. It's also in other things like peanut butter, chewing gum, lozenges, sweet mints such as polos and mint humbugs, things like that. Xylitol poisoning can cause vomiting, diarrhea, lethargy, and in some severe cases, some seizures. Nuts. Best overall to stay away from them as many are high in fat, but especially macadamia nuts. Those in particular are toxic to dogs. So in summary, if you are giving your pet some Christmas dinner, only feed your pets the safe foods mentioned and in small quantities. Don't overfeed them, just give them their regular portion sizes. If you're in doubt, avoid it altogether and just give your pet some proper dog or cat friendly foods. And while we're on the subject of Christmas, just some other things to be mindful of at this time are things like some plants can pose health risks. Don't let dogs eat holly, mistletoe, amaryllis, poinsettias, ivy or Christmas roses, as they can cause irritation around the mouth or vomiting. Lilies are very toxic to dogs and cats as well. Also make sure to section off your Christmas tree if you have overly curious pets. Make it very secure if you have a cat that might jump up or on it so it doesn't topple over on them. Put a gate around it if you have a dog that likes to go and investigate, just to keep them away. Don't let your pet eat tinsel or other decorations as they can cause intestinal blockages. Secure away any electrical wires out of their grasp. Use those shatterproof baubles rather than glass in case it shatters and it can cause a lot of damage to your pet. If you have a real tree that's in water, cover the water up so your pet can't drink it. The water can contain harmful additives, pesticides, maybe fertilizers, which can lead to serious health issues such as vomiting, diarrhea, and even poisoning. Maybe set up a quiet area for your pet to retreat to. If you have a lot of visitors coming and going, that can be disruptive to your pet's regular routine, and all that noise and excitement can be stressful for them. Give them somewhere quiet and comfortable to go to. You can use calming products for dogs like Adaptil, which is available in a spray, diffuser, a collar or chews. For cats, there is a version called Feliway, Feliway, which is for cats, available in a spray, a creamy snack or a diffuser. If your pet seems anxious or overwhelmed, leave them alone so they can take themselves away if they need to, and keep children away from them. If you gift wrap your dog's presents, this can be really fun and exciting for them to rip into. We've got a couple of dogs that I think will love ripping apart the Christmas paper to get to their toys. But just make sure they don't eat the wrapping paper. Christmas wrapping paper can have glittery stuff on it. It might have foil in it or metallic ink, and that can cause stomach upsets if the dog eats it. Also, don't let them have ribbons and things like that in case they choke on them or they accidentally get wrapped up in it. The same kind of advice would apply in America because they have Thanksgiving as well as the Christmas dinner. They might have different foods, but the same kind of problem. And here in the UK, I think Boxing Day, they have a spike in dogs coming to see them with problems, or pets rather coming to see them with issues like pancreatitis. I think it's known in the veterinary industry as Boxing Day disease. All these animals come into them with all these digestive problems. And in America, Thanksgiving is usually the fourth Thursday of the month of November. And apparently the day after, vets call it Pancreatitis Friday, because that's when they're inundated with loads of dogs and cats being brought in with these problems. So just be careful, supervise your pet, make sure they're safe and secure, and only feed them dog and cat safe foods.
Okay, just wanted to do a quick thank you to Barry who messaged the show. He messaged regarding episode 6, the Dear David episode. During this episode, we were talking about the movie, which also went along with the haunting. And during it, there was a scene where Adam Ellis has basically got possessed, I think. That's what meant to be happening.
Yeah.
And I said it was very like another movie, but couldn't remember the name of the movie because it was very computer game-like. And Barry messaged in to say that it was the Beach movie with DiCaprio.
Yes.
So just wanted to say a thank you for messaging us and letting me know and putting my mind to rest.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you for messaging us. If anyone wants to message us with regards to anything really, any ghost stories you might have experienced, any dog training tips that you might need, or any advice that you might need, you can contact us on our email, which is spirithounds@yahoo.com. You can find us on Facebook. Our Facebook page is Spirit Hounds Podcast. It's now almost Christmas time. It's about a week away. hoping to get this episode out before Christmas. So we hope you have a brilliant Christmas and a happy new year from all of us. We hope you have an amazing time and have a happy, healthy, festive period. And we will see you next time for the next episode of Spirit Hounds.
Spirit